All right, let's talk about the Indians who are stuck in Russia. During the Parliament's question hour, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar was asked about the status of Indians allegedly duped by immigration agents and forced to join the Russian army to fight Ukrainian forces. The minister said that President Vladimir Putin has assured that any Indian national who is in the service of the Russian army will be discharged and they will be released. Moving on, in a draconian move, Iran has proposed a bill which has sparked widespread outrage and concern as it seeks to reduce the legal age of marriage for girls to just 9 years. It also seeks to lower the age of marriage for boys to 15 years. The controversial legislation introduced by the Iraqi Justice Ministry aims to amend the country's personal status law, which currently sets the minimum age for marriage at 18 years. The bill would allow citizens to choose between religious authorities or the civil judiciary to decide on family affairs. Now, critics of the bill fear that this will lead to a slashing of rights in matters of inheritance, divorce, and child custody. Human rights organizations, women's groups, and civil society activists have all vehemently opposed the bill, warning of serious consequences for young girls. All right, let's try and get an understanding of this. I'm joined by Mariam Wardak, founder of Her Afghanistan. Mariam, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us on Mirror Now. I just cannot understand why a country would get this sort of a bill to lower the age to something as low as 9 years old, a 9-year-old child getting married. I just cannot wrap my head around it.
Well, women or a society such as progressive as mine or yours, of course, will not be able to have any understanding of such a bill. I mean, this bill is profoundly detrimental as it completely threatens to erode the fundamental rights and freedoms of women and girls. And in countries, other countries, similar legislations have been proposed or enacted. Countries such as, I think it was Iran, Iraq, you have Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Sudan, I think, and reducing the legal age of marriage to as young as 9 not only legitimizes the child marriage, but it also exposes young girls to a lifetime of exploitation, abuse, and curtailed opportunities. I mean, it strips girls of their childhood, forcing them into roles that they are not physically nor emotionally prepared for. And it also perpetuates the cycle of poverty and oppression.
That's right. Mariam, one of the reasons, one of the logics, which is quite illogical in my belief, that a patriarchal setup always gives for such draconian moves is that we're trying to protect the society, we're trying to protect the girls. And in this case, the reason that has been given is that we want to protect girls from, illegitimate relationships and from society getting, quote unquote, corrupt from those relationships. All of these suddenly and somehow always fall upon women to be the honor of patriarchal societies.
Well, I mean, it's the women are the frontline fighters when it comes to war because they're the ones who face oppression and poverty, as I've seen in Afghanistan. And in such cases, such as this, in this particular bill, having young girls choose between religious authorities or civil judiciaries to decide the family affairs, it's another form of marginalization of women, which is what they're trying to do because they feel that women, this facade of women being the protectors of honor. I mean, this just opens the door of potential rollbacks of legal protection in critical areas, like you mentioned earlier. I think you said inheritance, divorce, and child custody, where women are continuing to
Yes.
fight to even be recognized.
That's right, Mariam. It's not just about women. Boys as young as 15 years old are now going to be expected to marry with this bill, if this bill does come into force in Iraq. That is absolutely crazy. Just the fact that children at the age of 9 and 15 are not fully developed, whether physically or mentally. What are you trying to do as a society when you have children marry each other?
Absolutely. What they're trying to do is basically limit their ability to fully participate in society, whether that is coming up with new policies to help the population evolve. See, when you limit the society, whether that's in education or providing such harsh bills such as this, you keep them confined because they're so occupied in their daily aspect that they cannot focus on the progression of the country. And I think you know this better than I do, that these legislative moves are not even merely controversial. They are a direct assault on the dignity, safety, and human rights of both women and men.
And therefore, Mariam, what's the way forward? How does one really go about it? Feminists and women activists and civil society groups can only do so much. They can put pressure. But is anybody listening?
Absolutely not. I think that when it comes to women, nobody cares to be the frontline fighters for them but women themselves. I think in countries such as this, it has to be organic and it has to stem from the people itself. And the only way you can stem it inside society is by continually engaging with them. The more that this population is exposed to the international community and other cultures and other societies, the more they will be evolved and the more they will learn to move forward and progress as a society in a whole by positively affecting the neighbor in the region.
Hmm, absolutely. Mariam, you yourself are a founder of Her Afghanistan. I'm sure you have worked with women on ground, with girls on ground who've had some very harrowing experiences when it comes to being at the hands of the patriarchal setup. Um, in countries such as Afghanistan or Iraq, what options do young girls have? What are they going through? I mean, I even shudder to think the kind of experiences they must be having.
Well, it's such a comedy when it comes to Afghanistan because you saw the whole world jump uh, on Afghanistan. First, it became the fight on terrorism, and then it became the fight to support women and evolve and to be participants of society. And then, yet, you see the United States and some of its partners just walk the Taliban and its policies right back into society. 20 years just wasted. So 20 years of giving young girls this hope and opportunity that they are going to be agents of change and agents of they're drivers of their own policies and their own country, and now they're set back. There, there has been so many struggles when it comes to Afghanistan because we have so many ethnicities, and then within that ethnicities we have struggles. We also have two segments of the same religion, which is Shia and Sunni of the Muslim population. I mean, there's just so many intricate issues when it comes to Afghanistan, and the one thing that falls through the crack and the one population that always gets the brunt of the of any hostility are women. So, and I just want
Hmm.
to find a way to help these women not only have a voice, which they do in Her Afghanistan, but to work with like-minded people. So today in the Afghan Taliban, you have multiple groups within. So you actually have some modern Taliban who were working in the administration of Ghani and Karzai who want progress for women. So working alongside with them because tomorrow they will be the leaders of taking the Taliban movement forward. So
Mariam, can I also understand from you, as a society, specifically, I'm talking about countries like Afghanistan or Iraq. These are, Islam-dominated countries. I want to understand from you and get a clarity on this. How much of the population is actually willing to work against the religious diktats that come? For a lot of us, either we don't want to move away from the religious guidelines that have been put in place as a society for us, and the ones who do uh, mostly don't have the courage because perhaps they're alone, they don't have the support of their loved ones, even in some cases. What's the scene that you see on ground when it comes to religious guidelines being put in place for women?
I mean, you put it so beautifully. This is such a conversation that needs to be placed, and it's wonderful to see an anchor to be so worldly viewed to bring up a topic such as this. I mean, a religious conversation is so sensitive in every country's population. I mean, we've had a king overthrown because
Yes.
religious scholars were raised because Queen Soraya was too progressive at her time, and King Amanullah Khan was removed. Today, it's the same thing, and this is why Her Afghanistan has called on theological scholars to come in and talk to the Taliban in their own language, which is Islam. And when you have someone who understands the book and the hadiths, and to be able to recite it in Arabic and then properly translate it in the local language to help these people understand that women are equal partners in life in general, things would progress. But however, we have such a dark uh, society that they mix culture and religion together, and people are not able to differentiate, especially when you have an uneducated population. So it's a very, very sensitive topic, and one that many people do not want to push, because I don't know if you followed Afghanistan, but a few years ago we had a female who went to a mullah and she challenged his it's called he gave her they give ayats away in tawiz is what they call it. She
Hmm.
challenged him, and he came out in public and said
Yes.
she is cursing Islam and is questioning the Quran. And then you had 5,000 people, many of them young boys wearing jeans, t-shirts, and have iPhones, who beat this woman, ran her over by a car, stoned her, and then burned her alive. And this was 6 years ago, not even 5 years ago. This was during President Ghani's period, and nobody could do anything. It was a mob assault. So this is just such a sensitive area, and I think challenging it has to be done in such a sophisticated manner, such as having conversations such as what we're doing right now, bringing up the topic so people are aware that there's a difference between religion and culture, and how it needs to be approached. It has to be with people who
Yeah.
have the utmost understanding of the religion itself.
Absolutely. And that, the onus doesn't lie solely on women for carrying the honor of religion or any sort of social group or society. It doesn't lie just on the women, and women should not be the sufferers when we talk about honor of society. But we'll leave it there, Mariam. It's been a long journey for women for their empowerment. It is a long journey further ahead as well, at least for the girls, for the young children in Iraq and Afghanistan. Thank you very much, Mariam, for joining us right now on Mirror Now and sharing your perspective.